Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Monday's guided reading lesson, where today we are going to begin exploring our new text, Cosmic. I'm really excited to look at this one with you. Now, before you do our English lesson, you're going to need to do this. All right. I'll also remind you in the English lesson, but this is the bit that comes first. If you remember, we did it in term 2 when we started exploring Who Let the Gods Out. And essentially today is all about having a think about what our text could be about before we actually open it. All right. So on the left-hand side, this sheet should look really familiar. This is on the website. However, you don't need to print it. If you want to print it out, great. But if you haven't got access or don't want to, then all you need is to be able to see it either on my slides here, or if you want to open it up on your laptop or whatever. Okay, so basically, today we've got 5 key sections of the book that we're going to think about before we then open it in our English lesson. Okay, so if you remember, those sections are: we look at the front cover, so what we can see. We have a look at the blurb and we think about what the blurb tells us. We've got our inference section, our questions we'd like to ask, and our prediction section. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each of those a step at a time, giving you some examples, and then you guys can take it from there and get going the same way we would do in class. We'd have a look together and then you'd go solo. All right, so if I begin with the front cover, now obviously this is quite small on my screen. You've got 2 options, like I said: either open the document that's on the website, or if you literally search Cosmic Frank Cottrell Boyce, you should get a nice big picture here. But to begin with, all I want to do is I want to describe what it is I can see. So if we start with the front cover, we've got here, so I've got kind of a tall, skinny boy here, not quite sure of his age. It looks like he's in some kind of uniform. He's got a helmet, perhaps an astronaut helmet, under his arm. And then I can see I've got this kind of large black silhouette. I mean, I must admit, the first thing I thought when I saw that was Buzz Lightyear, but then I guess probably some kind of astronaut. So when I'm writing on my front cover, I just want short, it doesn't have to be sentences, but short kind of phrases with kind of those wow words, specific vocabulary to describe what I can see. So I'm going to go for the silhouette. I'm going to go for, it looks like he's kind of towering, doesn't he? And almost quite powerful with that arm, the arms on his waist. So I'm going to go for towering, powerful silhouette. I think that's how I spell silhouette, of an astronaut or similar. Okay, so I've got there just literally a word, expanded noun phrase to describe what I can see. Why don't you see if you can come up with perhaps 3 or 4 different things that you can see in here. Okay, just quickly as well, guys, your English lesson today, there's really not too much writing in it. It's mostly kind of practical things for you to explore. So get your writing done in this, and then that's that done. All right. Okay, my blurb. So I've got, he wanted to see the world, but not quite like this. Liam Digsby is an ordinary 12-year-old. Some people even think he's a grown-up. This is the incredible story of how he told some fibs, nearly stole a Porsche, went to a theme park, and sort of by accident ended up in space. Okay, well, quite a lot that blurb tells me there. And I don't know about you, but I'm definitely intrigued and ready to start reading it. Let's begin with, we know that we've got a character, a main character, who is 12 years old. Okay, so the main character is a 12-year-old boy. Okay, I might even write about a 12-year-old boy who goes on lots of adventures. Okay. So there we go. That's one thing I could write. Just literally all you need to do for the blurb section is you're listing what the blurb tells you. What facts are there in there? Yeah, what information does it give? Okay. Now for our inference section, remember, infer is when we look for clues within a text that tell us more information. Okay, so again, this isn't going to be something that's written in black and white. For example, it says there, Liam Digsby is a 12-year-old. Okay, that is a fact. We can retrieve that. We infer other things. Okay, so for example, here, I'm going to say, if I get my highlighter perhaps, says, some people even think he's a grown-up. Okay, now it doesn't tell us why people think he's a grown-up, but I can infer here, can't I? I can look for clues as to why people might think that. So if people think he's a grown-up, it could be, and if I use the picture on the front cover to help me, could it be that he's extremely tall? Okay, if he's 6 foot or something, that might make people think he's a grown-up. So I can infer that Liam might be extremely tall or even mature for his age. Yeah, could be either of those things. Again, the other thing I might infer, if we look at what he's done, so he nearly stole a Porsche, went to a theme park and sort of by accident ended up in space. What might you infer about his personality, about the kind of things he gets up to, all that type of thing? So again, look for clues. I've done the blurb there, but think about the front cover as well, particularly what it says after cosmic. Does that phrase seem familiar to you? What clues does it give about what might happen in the book? Okay. Right, questions. Remember, there's kind of 2 ways we do questions. Number 1 is you think about what questions do you have about the book overall. Number 2 is imagine you were interviewing one of the characters. What questions might you have for them? Now, in here, we only know of Liam as the main character. There's no other characters mentioned, so it could be you have some questions for him. I mean, personally, my big question, how on earth does he end up in space? How does a 12-year-old boy accidentally end up in space? So, how does Liam end up in space would be a massive question from me. If I was asking Liam a question, I might say something like, Liam, why did you nearly steal a Porsche? How did that happen? Okay, so think about, perhaps you could do 3 about the book, 3 for Liam, questions to ask him. Remember, if I'm doing a question, I need a question mark at the end and a capital at the beginning. Okay, and finally, I'm just going to move this up so I got a bit of room. Prediction. Oh, didn't think that was going to happen. Prediction is where we think about, we predict what's going to happen next in the book. So again, 2 ways of doing this. You might come up with a really long, descriptive, detailed prediction of what you think is going to happen. Or you might go, do you know what? I'm going to have a couple of alternative different theories as to what I think is going to happen. My prediction is going to be, if he accidentally ends up in space, I predict there's probably going to be quite a lot of danger in this book, okay? If he's going to space and he's 12, I imagine there could be some problems. So I'm going to write, I predict Liam ends up in danger in space. And obviously that's really short. I haven't got much space on my screen, but you guys can go into a lot more detail than that and explain why. Okay, so hopefully that's given you a rough idea. Like I said, today is your this guided reading session is your main bit of writing. You're not going to have to write very much in English at all. Okay, so give it a good go. I'm also going to give you a little bit of time if you wanted. So tomorrow's guided reading is basically me reading you part of the book. So if you'd rather do about half of this now, okay, maybe the first 3 sections, and then finish it off for your guided reading tomorrow for Tuesday, that's absolutely fine. But have a go. Let me know if you've got any questions. And like I said, you can present it however you want. If you want to, I mean, we don't tend to squeeze it on the sheet because there's not often much room, but if you want to print out the sheet, do it around it like we normally would. If you want to do it in bullet points, however works for you. All right. Good luck, have fun, and then once you've finished, head over to English where we are going to start reading. I think it's the first 6 pages of the book. All right, take it easy, guys.